Okay, let the show begin, and this is going to be quite a show. Welcome to this edition of House of Preeminence magazine. This magazine is all about the rise of the hybrid entrepreneur and becoming the multi-potentialite that you are. And my guest today is a stellar example of a hybrid entrepreneur and a multi-potentialite. In fact, he's literally rocked that role for a long time. And I would say that he's even maybe invented it. So he is dubbed the keynote maestro. I have the honor to introducing you to a Grammy-nominated musical performer. He has performed with greats such as Madonna, Carlos Santana, Earth, Wind and Fire, Prince, and so many more. But he has already also brought his visionary, incredible approach to titan companies across the world in keynote presentations. It is staggering what you're going to hear. His approach to human potential is uplifting, inspiring, and astonishing. He has already impacted over 314 million people. Prepare to be wowed. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present Freddie Ravel.
Hey, Jenny. Greetings, and to all the preeminent folks. It's a pleasure to meet you all.
So, Freddie, this star-studded career you've had, I believe there's actually quite a scary story right in the very beginning. What led you to some of these insights about music?
Yeah. I think you're referring to that incident with the refrigerator, I believe. And yes, when I was about 7 years old, I was playing this imaginary game of hide and seek, and in back of my parents' home. And there is a detached garage, and I was walking by it, and there's my camera froze. Sorry. I'll do that again. I'll start from the story. I'm coming back, Jenny. You can keep your recording on. I'll just keep moving. All right. And then I'll change the battery if this happens one more time. Well, that's right, Jenny. You know, I was playing this imaginary game of hide and seek. And, you know, in back of my parents' house, there's a garage that's detached, and there was a refrigerator in the back of that garage. And it was unplugged, and the door was ajar. And I'm thinking, what would be a good hiding place? So I climbed into that refrigerator, and my 7-year-old body fit perfectly into that refrigerator. And I closed the door, and I found myself in a hermetically sealed, pitch black, box. And for about the first 10 seconds, Jenny, I was thinking, this is pretty cool. No one's going to find me here, right? But after about 10, 15 seconds, it was time for me to get out, So I put my shoulder against the inside of the door, and I went, oh! The door didn't open. I started doing some more pushing, and then I started putting my feet up against the inside of the refrigerator, and I started pushing as hard as I could, and I could not get out of the refrigerator. And after about 30 seconds of screaming and panicking and everything, I began to calm down in the darkness, and I began to close, my eyes and get calm. And in the middle of that calmness, Jenny, I start hearing a rhythm. This boom, 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 this deliberate rhythm in my brain. And I decide I'm going to take my fist and I'm going to pound the inside of the refrigerator door in sync with that rhythm. So I'm going bam, 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 steadily for like a minute. And pretty soon, much to my surprise, the door flies open and I come tumbling out of the refrigerator door onto the garage, into a puddle of my own sweat. And I'm staring at the shocked expression of my abuelita's face. And what, I had no idea that she had been walking right by the garage at the time, taking out the trash. And rising above the din of the LA freeway system, which is a very loud sound because we were right next to the freeway, she could hear that deliberate rhythm, boom, 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 cutting through the noise in a way that if I were screaming, she would not have heard it because it would have blended in with the white noise. So the rhythm punched through it. And for that reason, I'm standing here talking to you today. I've always believed that if I had not, went to rhythm in that moment, I wouldn't be here. So ever since that day, I have been searching to unlock the secrets of music. I've been searching to unlock the melodies and the harmonies and the rhythms of the music I was growing up with, Sergio Mendes, the Beatles, Carlos Santana, but I had no idea, that about 20 years later, I would actually have the opportunity to work with every single one of those artists. It was like an incredible dream come true. And since then, I've been working to spread the message of life in tune and how music can literally save one's life.
So your audiences for quite some time, your global audiences have been kind of crusty corporate of all bankers and NASA and all sorts of companies that because I watched the reviews and the testimonials, and that you literally have been able to touch people through music and the language of music. So can you walk us through what it is about music that actually is actually so compatible with business and transformation?
Sure. Well, I think that the answer is not complicated. It's really very simple. We're all born with a heartbeat inside of us. So right out the gate, every single one of us has a drummer, boom, 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 constantly drumming inside of us. And the way we breathe and the way we perceive our environment is a form of music if we're in balance with it. So let's start like that. By default, human beings are musical. That's the main reason there's a yes there. And I agree with you. There's a lot of aspects to corporate that's crusty. I've never heard crusty corporate. I love that, Jenny. But I have to tell you, I have met beautiful, authentic, human, alive people inside of the IBMs, the Googles, the Apples, the Red Bulls, the Bank of America, all the different clients that I've had the privilege to serve. And I find that music awakens something very primal for people. Doesn't matter what environment it's presented, whether it's Coachella or some outdoor festival like Burning Man or something, or it's inside of a hotel presenting to an IBM. The music has a way of transcending the location and the culture. And what I decided to do was get down to the DNA, get down to the structure of music. And all music is based on melody, harmony, and rhythm. And once I began to connect those to the way people behave, human behavior, then we were able to kind of crack open this code. And that's the secret of it, And it's not complicated. It's very simple. Jenny, its melody is lead. Because any song you can imagine, when you think of the melody, it is taking a leadership role. I mean, we even call it the lead singer. If it's Lady Gaga, she's the lead singer. If it's Carlos Santana, he's the lead guitarist, right? If it's Yo-Yo Ma playing the cello, he's the lead instrumentalist, right? Or it's a band leader. In other words, the word leader and melody are intertwined. And so I decided to use the melody to talk about identity. I am, passion, purpose, leadership. All of that is in the world of melody. Harmony is an act of two or more notes coming together. Also, two or more people coming together. So it's collaboration and community and tribe and the strength of all of us working together. That's harmony. Now, rhythm is the third and final element of the DNA of music, and that is timing. Rhythm is always about timing. And when I say always about timing, it's like an infallible rule of rhythm. You can go anywhere in the world, and if you're talking about rhythm, Somebody's going to pick up a cowbell, a conga, a drum set. They're going to clap their hands. They're going to hit spoons together, but it's rhythm. Rhythm is always about timing. So when you think about leadership, teams and collaboration, harmony, and rhythm, timing, those are the three things it takes to make anything happen on the planet. Anything. A simple chore at the house, going to the supermarket, melody. I am leaving the house to get eggs and milk. When I get to the market, I will meet other people that I need to harmonize with to help me find items and create a moment of collaboration. And then I have to be back in 10 minutes to prepare breakfast for my kids. Timing. That's the most fundamental way. So once I started to think of melody, harmony, and rhythm as self working together and timing, that would get us to the score. And the score is the desired outcome. It's the reason you do what you do. There are more subtleties, but that's the formula. Melody plus harmony plus rhythm equals score.
So this has the potential to not just the potential. It is really effective in communication, in relationships, in community. In fact, it could apply to everything in the world.
It really could, because it's got universal principles in it, and they're not complicated. There's another way to frame it, and I think this might be special for our audience today, Jenny, because we're talking about the multifaceted aspect of humanity, and we're talking about the rise of an entrepreneur who's able to interject their own authenticity with their people and their audience and their clients and their colleagues, right? In other words, you're talking about the power of being completely holistic in everything you do. And that's something that this is about. This is about life in tune. And what does a life in tune look like? A life in tune is one where you are sensitive, empathetic, mindful, connected, collaborative, innovative, willing, open, and at the same time, going for your dream, being passionate, right? But you also understand timing. That means you have discipline. If you understand timing, you have discipline, because you respect calendars, you respect meetings, you respect getting things done and deadlines, right? That's all in the realm of a great drummer. And all of us ideally have to be soloists, melody, collaborators, harmony, and drummers, disciplined, structured, and understanding how important it is to be in sync with others. All of these things lead to an optimization. All of these things can make you in tune. And that's what we're here to really talk about.
So, Freddie, when at the beginning I said that you'd actually practically invented being a hybrid entrepreneur, what was the point where when you were in performing a lot, and then you saw the value of these principles of music and how they could be applied in the business world?
Well, I have to say it's years and years of a journey. It didn't just happen like, I walked around the corner on this date and it happened. It wasn't like that. I think a lot of it began with my parents, and the way I was raised. My mother is from Colombia, South America. So the first language I learned was Espanol, hablo Español. And my father is a Russian, German, Polish, Eastern European heritage, born in Bronx, New York, a doctor by profession. He's retired now, but my dad's somewhat of a metaphysician. He was a chess champion in Central California. He was he is a Renaissance man. And so I think my father, being somewhat of the metaphysical, intellectual person he is, and he's a total polymath, as we would say. And my mother being like completely inside rhythm and passion. you know, the South American Latin spirit, if you will, that lives every day. That my mom is listening to music from the moment she gets up to the moment she sleeps. And anybody who knows my mom will tell you that she washes the dishes to the cumbia and to salsa music. And she does that every day. And she's been doing that every day since I was born. So that combination of music and philosophy has been a part of my upbringing. But to answer your question very specifically, if I had to say, when was the moment? I think a lot of it is there's certain ahas. When you're working with a band like Earth, Wind, and Fire, for example, and you are forming a circle of 10 or 12 people and going into a group prayer 3 minutes before you walk on stage and perform for 200,000 people, that has an impact on you. Mm-hmm. Because you're praying that every note you play and every note that comes out of your mouth when you're singing is touching the minds, hearts, and the spirits of the audience. So I was also being raised and collaborating with bands like Carlos Santana, like Earth, Wind, and Fire, that are actually human potential and music by definition, right? I mean, Earth, Wind, and Fire is arguably the first real, you know, all-Black band that people say have united multicultures. That's a phenomenal thing. Carlos Santana from Mexico, right? His music is a blend of everything. It's African in rhythm, it's South American, it's Latin, it's got rock and roll roots and blues in it from the US, and it has all kinds of European harmonies inside of it as well. It's so all of these artists I've worked with include, I didn't mention Al Jarreau, but he's another one. Of course, Prince and Madonna, who borrow more from the pop side of life. But all of those artists are grabbing energy from all the continents of the planet. They're not just America-centric or European-centric, they are global. And so I having that as my background and playing with all those people and also making my own solo albums. I have 4 solo albums as well as my work with these other people. Right in the midst of that, in the mid-90s, Deepak Chopra's publicist calls me and says, Deepak Chopra's coming to town. And I said, who is Deepak Chopra? And this was in 1993, before he was on the cover of Newsweek magazine. And I got to meet Deepak. We connected very deeply. And we decided to write a song called Slip in the Gap, which is on my second album. Soul to Soul is the name of that album. And the song is about the space between thoughts. So right now, Jennifer, I'm talking to you, right? If I keep rambling and speaking and speaking and speaking, and I don't put a pause in what I'm saying, and I don't take a breath, that's a problem, right? But if I'm speaking to you and I want to make a point, and then I continue, the pause is so powerful that it helps the listener digest what was just said. And it helps the listener even think about their own thoughts. And it turns out that if you put space between your words, you become an infinitely more powerful speaker and a better singer.
And that is something that also is really pertinent for our audience, our preeminent audience, because in this virtual age, everybody has become a presenter now. Everybody has, you know, they switch on their Zoom and they're on their own stage, whether they're doing, you know, or Facebook Lives or webinars or whatever.
That's right. And you know, yeah, all of a sudden, you know, it's lights, camera, action for everybody, right? But what's important is when you take that action piece, the lights and camera and the action, when you're communicating, you want to make sure, I'll give you a couple tips. I think one thing is very important is you'll notice that I'm standing up. Most people are sitting down. I mean, 99% of people are sitting down. But if you're speaking to people and you want to be powerful, being in a warrior position and standing up is a lot more energy, right? The other thing is seeing the hands. There are many cultures that communicate not just with, here's my shoulder, my head, and it's much more limited if I do this, right? But if I speak with my hands, and this is a little nod to all my friends in Italy who really, a culture that really speaks with their hands, but all of us should be using hand gestures. You got to use everything you can because we're in a box. We no longer have the environment around us, at least until we get out of COVID. And so it's very important to use everything you got to communicate. And that's why I had this desk built for me so that when I am speaking to my clients, my colleagues, or I'm doing virtual presentations from this studio, which I do. Yesterday, I spoke to a giant group in Washington, D.C. from this environment. And I have a built-in piano so that I can literally pull it out and play it as I'm speaking. Because for me, the piano is another access to the language of music. So language and body movements and even music itself are all massive forms of communication. And we need to use everything we can as a hybrid entrepreneur to make impact in this new paradigm that we're in.
That particular point resonates really strongly with me as a high vibe entrepreneur and a high vibe living a high vibe lifestyle, where you bring in everything, as you talked about, holistic, bringing in everything, whether it's looking after our body, looking after our minds, looking after our environment, looking after everything. And music, you said it right in the beginning, the music is a universal language. That so many indigenous peoples, they've never lost that. And so many people in this modern world have lost the connection with it. They might be listening to, they might have something going on in their headphones, but it's no longer resonating with them. I know when I go for a hike in the woods in the morning, go for my speed march, I listen to things that uplift me, move me, and I can feel the amygdala going straight away, and the body started to vibrate. So this is such a multifaceted dimension. It's not even a tool. It is a philosophy. It is a way of life. Is finding that real connection with music that moves you because it puts you in an elevated emotion. An elevated emotion is what magnifies our desires to us. So this is so key. I'm loving that you're talking about this and what can people do to use this? We can get music from anywhere now. Spotify, YouTube, whatever, or make our own music. What is the best way that people who maybe never sung, maybe think they're not musical, that they're not musicians, can get in touch with that musical self? Because you said everybody is a musician, or everybody has a potential for music.
Yes, we are all musical, right? We're all musical. And well, there's one little piece that comes to mind that I'm thinking about as you shared your walk in the woods, and you shared how multidimensional it is. And music is multidimensional. I like to say that music is the great invitation for mankind to transcend spoken word, to enhance how we think and put into sync so we hear what is mostly not heard, right? That's the beginning of a poem called If Music Could Speak. And part of the reason music speaks so deeply for all of us is that it's with us from the cradle to the grave. I mean, we're born and all of a sudden we hear things like, And my camera froze. Hold on. Hold on. I'll start right from there. And I don't know why it froze. It'll go off. And you see me in blue. Hey, hey. And I come back. And the camera should come back. Hello, come back. And I'll change the battery if it doesn't. You know, we had about 10 minutes there, so that was good. Here we go. So Jenny, you know, we're born and, you know, music is with us from the cradle to the grave. I mean, right off the bat, we enter the planet and pretty soon we hear. Right? And then we get a little bit older, we get to like 5 years old and we start to hear things like. Right? And then as soon as we get past the itsy bitsy spider, we get into being teenagers, you know, and adolescence. And things start to change. It's more along the lines of kind of rebel a little bit, you know. And then pretty soon, you know, we start getting to that place in life, you know, where we're thinking of things like true love. We're in our early 20s, you know. We're looking for that right someone. Is he out there? Is she out there? Right? And then if we find Mr. Right, you know, we get to things like. And then as that goes on, you know, the years go by, maybe kids come and anniversaries go by and there's music for that. Right? And then, you know, the kids grow, everybody moves on, life continues, we're getting to that end of life, and sure enough, music is there. I mean, it's there. Cradle to the grave. But the other thing that's so awesome about music is it's even there for the resurrection. And I call that the cradle to the grave. I mean, in a few minutes, just the idea that this is why music is with us. It joins us on this ride. And for almost everybody's upbringing, it might not be those specific songs, but we do know that there's a song for every different passage of life, all the time. And that is why it is so multidimensional. And that is why human beings, no matter where they come from, 193 countries on planet Earth, every single country has a melody, a harmony, and a rhythm that people in that country relate to and can think about. And all of us, including all the listeners, all our preeminent listeners, they all have a playlist of their favorite songs. And inside of those playlists might be the deepest memory of a romance they had at one point in their life, or stuff they grew up in when they were in high school, which is very common for people to refer to their high school years as the music that they refer to as they live life, right? So music is there. It's just in our DNA. My job is to activate human potential and to reveal something that people never think about. You know, we tend to think that music is purely entertainment, but it's way more than that. It is actually a multitasking power tool to inspire the way we live.
And you're continuing that mission and that idea which is an art and a science. And I know that by the time this is aired, you will already be starting something really fabulous for the new year. as you've adapted Life in Tune and your stage life to the way the world is at the moment, and you've brought Life in Tune and the principles of Life in Tune to social media, which is just such a fabulous idea when you think about all of the dissonance that there has been on Facebook and the rhythm with which we turn up every day to look at things.
Oh man, absolutely, Jenny. You're so right. There's so much dissonance, and I think it wouldn't be right to leave people with just the four things you reminded me. Remember, everybody, you've got melody, harmony, and rhythm as the three elements of music. And when they all come together, you get to the score. So the score is about an outcome that you desire. But there are two things we need to include that are swirling around us 24/7, 365 days a year. You've got dissonance. And thank you for reminding me, Jenny. Dissonance is the noise, the distractions, the disruptions, all the things that invade our lives are coming at us all the time, whether we know it or not. It's it's that aspect of life that is the unexpected, the surprises, the challenges that come. So that goes into the category of dissonance. Dissonance in music is like if I take my hand on the keyboard and go, this is dissonance. And all the noise hits us feels like this. And the key is to do our best to find our note. Even though the world is doing this unexpectedly, find our center and rise above it. And when you rise above it, you can play with other notes. Keep your center. Right? Once you find your center, it's always about trying to find your center. And the way you find your center is through the act of mindfulness, empathy, compassion, and listening, which is a centerpiece to making music. Listening, the power to listen and be present is absolutely essential to make music. But guess what? It's absolutely essential to be a good entrepreneur. And so the link, and if I have to get this down to one idea, and if we can take the word listen, and if you think of the word listen, L-I-S-T-E-N, and you just rearrange the letters, you get silent. And when you can do that, when you can come to that conclusion that listen and silent are really the same thing, then you have a way of controlling your ego. And when you can control the monkey mind that is always yelling at you and chattering in your brain, and you can calm it down and be present for everyone around you, you make beautiful music in your life. You make business happen, deals close, things advance. You are elevating the tide for all boats, and all boats rise. All of us benefit. What you're doing is you start creating win-win paradigms with everybody you touch. And guess what? When you do that, money, wealth, prosperity, and abundance are a result of that behavior. Everyone's thinking chase the wealth, but it doesn't work that way. It's about collaboration, it's about being present, and it's about bringing the best of yourself to everything you touch. And magically, life has a way of filling in the blanks for the higher good when you put out that intention. And that is what Life in Tune is all about.
So what I'm hearing and feeling is that the Life in Tune principles, the three principles, are actually universal principles. Because I don't know anybody who doesn't feel some dissonance sometime in their life, or sometime in the day, or sometime in the week or year, is that they can then turn to find out whether there's melody, harmony, and rhythm, and which is missing. So it's a universal principle.
You know, Jenny, you're right. You know, you can look at almost everything you're doing. You could say, okay, here's my business. I know I have my passion and purpose together. I know what I'm here to do. That means you got your melody, right? You're very clear about your melody, right? And you're going, okay, I've got a great team. I've got a great assistant. I have someone helping me with marketing. I've got, you know, a PayPal kind of service that's helping me collect the money, and right. So I have my harmony, right? But I can't meet my deadlines. I'm not getting the newsletter out. That means that your rhythm is missing. So you could have a great melody and a great harmony, but if you don't have the discipline or the machinery or the structure or the outsourcing that it takes to have someone help you be your drummer, you won't get to the score. Now, you could have a great melody, right? Your passion and purpose, and you could have great rhythm, like you're very disciplined and you put out a newsletter, right? But if you don't have a community to harmonize with, you don't have your harmony. So it's like a leader of a village without a village. That doesn't work either, right? It'd be like a lead singer standing up, they're singing the song, and there's a drummer on stage playing the rhythm, right? But there's no guitar player, there's no piano player, there's no background singers, there's no beauty that's filling in the harmony. And guess what? It sounds like a lead singer without a band and just a drummer. So if you want to be an entrepreneur who's out there sounding like a lead singer with just a drummer, you don't have your harmony. Yeah. Now, it works the other way too. You could have a huge village, a beautiful tribe, but if you don't, and you could have a drummer, meaning you have your newsletter. But if you don't have your melody, nobody knows what you're truly doing. Wow, they've got a great movement, but I'm really not clear what their messaging is. That's melody. Melody's messaging. And you have to always sharpen your messaging all the time so that people can hear the melody, because the melody leads the idea. And these things I'm sharing with you now, Jenny, are all part of this, this course that I'm going to be doing with my partner, Frank Furness. It's called Life in Tune with Social Media. And we're going to be doing, that's coming up next week, actually. We're launching it out of London next Wednesday. But the idea is that social media is very much an expression of music when you get it right. But you have to honor these principles or it won't work.
In fact, there is no area of life that these principles cannot embellish and improve and enrich and flourish.
Thank you, Jen. Yeah, you know what people have said is that Life in Tune is like the ability to harness the universal language to empower day-to-day life. You know, we always want to have some sort of GPS system. We're always looking for a map. And this is a way to take something that came from the oldest language on the planet. Some people don't realize how old music is, but, and it's older than the number I'm going to give you now, but, you know, we've been using the written word and the spoken word for about 5,000 years. Not that much, not that long, about 5,000 years, right? They found a flute in Germany about 2 years ago. It's made out of a vulture's bone. It's a flute. They carbon dated it to 43,000 years ago. So you think about it. People have been using music before they could even, before there was a verbal language, before there were words. People were blowing on things, beating on things, screaming, singing, Hawaiians blowing on conch shells, you know, to make sounds and call the gods together. You know, people have been doing music long before anything else. So this is a way to tap something that's truly primal and ancient, and at the same time, very chic and very contemporary. Because on one moment, I could be talking about Adele, Taylor Swift, and Bruno Mars. And then we could talk about the music of the Aborigines and playing the didgeridoo in Australia. You can talk about it all in one sentence. So it's really a sweeping journey of culture, breaking the boundaries of culture. You're right that it has science in it because music is all frequency. And there's a whole other scientific magic that goes in with things like the overtone series and the 12 keys of music. And that's what Life in Tune is about. It is when people see this logo, they will see that there's a sun that has been created by 4 octaves of a keyboard. And there's a person standing in the middle of it holding up a baton. And that person is a reflection of the user of these principles. That reflection is you. Because when you're using melody, harmony, and rhythm and listening through the dissonance of life, you get to the score. When you get to the score, you're holding the baton that is your symbol of confidence and projection of love and passion and service. The highest form of existence that any of us can do is serving others.
Wow, this is just so inspiring. You are such a lighthouse, Freddie. This is a whole new universe from just learning the usual techniques that we need to succeed as an entrepreneur. And we've got an arsenal of them, but this takes it to a whole new dimension, which is why we're so honored to have you in the house of preeminence, because this is what we showcase is leading edge, the sharpest edge, the things that will take you to your highest potential, because you and I share a passion for taking people to their highest potential.
That's what it's all about. And I want to say one thing that I think is so important. Nobody has all the answers. If you really want to find the answer to success, you have to ultimately be very courageous and look in the mirror. That's the truth. Everything else they are all good. Reading all the books in the world is good. Learning different techniques is good. But it's really about finding the music in you. What makes you tick? There's a great quote by Aristotle. Aristotle said that where your talents and the needs of the world intersect, there lies your vocation. Most people have a way of getting very clear about what their talents are, their gifts. They find that pretty quick because it's natural, right? What people tend to neglect, and I'm very guilty of this in my early days, I was so focused on the talent, I didn't think about the intersection of what the world needs. And it wasn't until, that's when I began to speak. When I was doing all the music, it was very focused around talents, and it was beautiful, and I learned a lot. But I actually feel that at this phase in my life, in my journey, in my personal career, I'm sitting now in the most important part of it, because I figured out, for me personally, where to put the intersection. Because I looked at the needs of the world, and the needs of the world is, wow, there's an opioid crisis like we've never had. There's a global pandemic. There's this notion of fake news. There's social manipulation of things. There's tremendous things. Oh, there goes my camera, Jenny. Sorry. I don't even know where I was. I don't even know where I was when I was speaking just now.
The disruption, the pandemic, Okay,
right. So think about it, Jenny. I mean, the disruptions that we're hitting, we've never lived at a time when all of us are experiencing the same thing at the same time. That's never happened before. We can speak to any of our colleagues at any point in the globe, and they're all experiencing a level of anxiety that is consistent across the planet. They're all experiencing fear. They're all experiencing trepidation. What's around the corner? We're in the state of the unknown, right? What is the workforce going to look like if we don't all have to drive cars anymore? Or what if we're not traveling on airplanes like we used to on the same level, on the same volume? What does that do for commerce? What does that do for the hospitality industry? What does that do for schooling, right? Holy cow. I mean, we're in a state of tremendous radical reset, right? We're in a state of radical reset right now. So, you know, the Chinese character for the word, or for the character crisis in Chinese, is often known that it also means opportunity. Crisis and opportunity are very much in the same sentence. So I want to invite all you preeminent folks, my preeminent tribe, my harmonized tribe, when you go for your score, think about opportunity. You might even spell it OPPORTUNE, opportune, a T. How do you tune into the opportunity? Let's tune in. How do you tune in? The way you tune in is you figure out what gifts you have that will serve the greatest need right now. And I'm not talking about something global. It's not always about changing the world. Many times it's about changing the relationship you have with your next door neighbor, the relationship you have with your kids, the relationship you have with your boss, or the relationship, if you're an entrepreneur, what you have with your employees. Or, you know, I work all the time with my fellow speakers. I work with artists. I get the privilege to work with beautiful people like Jenny. And so it's all about thinking, how can I add value? In my case, it's a blend of music, philosophy, and a system to navigate the complexities of the world. But each of you will have your own way of making life in tune. And life in tune is a highly subjective and personal thing. All I can do is share some tools that have emerged through my work with a lot of different kinds of folks that I have seen work so far in 84 countries that I've had the privilege to visit and present in. So I'm about halfway through. I still got a few more places to go to, but I hope this is helpful to all of you out there.
I think that concludes beautifully that concept of opportunity, and that everybody finds that it brings this paradigm shift and life in tune in perfect harmony. In perfect harmony. And you've given us so much to think about. You know, really just I've got loads and loads. I've got loads of downloads. Absolutely loads of downloads. It's about how to improve my score.
Yeah, hello.
in every single way. So this has been absolutely magical, Freddie. I thank you so much. Is there anything that you want to add, or is it just as we conclude with putting all the resources up with this video recording? So is there anything else that you would maybe just like to say to the audience?
Yes. First of all, I wish you all joy. We began with joy. I want to end with joy. And in that spirit, I want to say, may you always sing your melody, listen for harmony, dance to your rhythm, and celebrate the great score called you.
I love it.
Got it?
Got it.
We got it.